I'm so happy to be here this morning and afternoon for others. So it's afternoon for me. I'm actually on the traditional territory of Mississauga, Scugog Island, which is also Pickering, Ontario. About a half hour from Toronto, so nothing fancy or schmancy there. So a bit about me. I'm Algonquin. My grandmother was registered to Pikwakanagan. I'm from the Bear Clan. I'm a mother of three. I own IndigiMall, Crooked Bear, Young-Crook Consulting, and I publish children's books. So I'm a very well-rounded, all over the place, scattered person, which gives me the ability to, all of them actually are all sales. A big background of mine is actually in sales. I started out in gym membership sales, then I did car sales, and obviously my favorite retail, and then moved into upselling people as a bartender because that's what you do when you're trying to make good money. So I will get right into this now. So IndigiMall is an e-commerce platform. It's kind of like an Etsy, but way cooler and way more features. So the reason I had started it was during the pandemic. I was a part of an organization that used to host annual events. And a lot of the people that had these products that they really wanted to get out and had nowhere to move them. There was no events anymore, no trade shows, malls were shut down, stores. And you have a lot of people that, e-commerce just wasn't something they really wanted to do, to be honest. It wasn't something they thought they could do. They thought it was, more difficult than it was. So over the course of the next few months, I would say from May 2020 until about October, I was on a group chat or group message thing that we would have like meetings and everything. It was called the Lift Collective. And a lot of the women were there because they own businesses. I was actually there because I would give platforms to people who would like to sell their products. I would make sure that they either got it for free if they couldn't afford it to have booths, or I would share their information in emails to my contacts to get more sales. So when this had all happened, we were in a meeting and I thought, it'd be great if there was an Indigenous mall. And unfortunately, I'm not a billionaire and I couldn't open up an Indigenous mall. And then I was like, it would be great if there was an online platform that was specific to Indigenous people. So I looked into it and, I couldn't really find anything. And then fast forward to the middle of November, beginning of November, I started the Shop Indigenous Holiday Market on Facebook. So it originally started as something really small. I thought it was going to have maybe, 50, 60 people selling and then maybe 1,000 people purchasing. I do apologize if you hear anything because my daughter has the world's loudest voice. So I do apologize in advance. So we started doing this and it's now at 83,000 members. So it clearly was a bigger picture than we anticipated. So I believe at the middle of December, I had a lot of people contacting me, some that I was friends with and some people I didn't know from across Canada, and a couple in Mexico and the US had said that had this group not been in place for November and December, because it was only supposed to be for Christmas. I wasn't planning on making it a full-time thing or keeping it going or anything like that. I thought just bring it out for special occasions, then close it down temporarily. So when I had the group going, I got a lot of wonderful messages from all these amazing women and saying if it wasn't for this group, they wouldn't have been able to pay their bills, buy Christmas presents, contribute to the household, all those things. And I just realized how it was such a need because there's so many people out there that really want Indigenous products from Indigenous people. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be handmade from you. Like you can obviously, have them manufactured or, import, export, all of those things. But the fact is they want to support the Indigenous economy. And what came to mind from this was I saw, it was in a presentation and this was part of it, was the economic reconciliation and what that means and how we can do that. So that was my why behind it. So IndigiMall, this is our vision, the mission, the goal. For me, it was really, how can I contribute to the economic reconciliation plan? What can I do? Like you have that, like that faith, like people think to themselves like, well, I'm just one person. Well, one person can actually do quite a bit. And, it's just a little change to things that can make things go wonderful. And then I changed to, what can I do? Like, what is this mission of the organization? And I wanted to have a give back mission. This wasn't a platform that was developed so that I could become, this multimillionaire person living in a spaceship or anything wild, but it was so that I also had the ability to give back. To either, like, I'm really focused on Indigenous youth, to be honest with you. It's a big soft spot of mine. Growing up, I was raised by my grandmother, who was Indigenous for a big chunk of my life. And she taught me a lot of stuff. And a lot of that stuff was, the importance of caring about the future and the generations after you. And that obviously it's always good to take care of yourself, but make sure that anything you do, it's not even just, for Mother Earth or anything, but anything you do in life, that the person after you, the door stays open, women to come after you, and make sure that there's a seat for them. And, and if you don't have that seat, just be aware that someone's going to bring a chair sometime. So for me, this was the opportunity to help people. And it wasn't like, I wanted to be able to do it in a sense that wasn't hard. I know for me, I get very overwhelmed. I'm not a tech savvy person by any means, which is hilarious, having a couple of e-commerce platforms and selling a lot of things online. I find it very, very confusing. When I first did my first Shopify store, I missed out on the free trial because it took me so long to figure out how to do it. So when I was also doing this, I wanted to make sure I was making it as easy as possible for women and men and any Indigenous person from around the world. Like, we do have people from New Zealand and Australia that have their stores in there as well. But I wanted to make sure it was as easy as possible. And I wanted to make sure that, it was just an all place that people didn't feel this, like the stress of doing something different, because there was so much change happening from the pandemic that I wanted to ensure that this wasn't something that was adding to it. And for me, e-commerce is just so important, and it has so many benefits. Here's some of the benefits. Like, for instance, lower operating costs. It's a lot cheaper than having a store in a mall. It's a lot cheaper than just having a store anywhere, actually, if you think about it. And especially during the pandemic, you have the store and you're not allowed anybody in there, or you're only allowed a percentage of your capacity. You can work anywhere as long as you have Wi-Fi. So, if for me, like, I have a couple of stores that are in IndigiMall. So if I, need to do anything, I could do it on my phone. If a customer has a question, I can reply to them in an email. But if you have a store, your operating hours are from a certain time. You're going to have phone calls, voicemails, all that fun stuff. And also, it's more sustainable. You're not wasting as much stuff. When you have it online, again, it's a virtual cloud. Whereas if you're in person, you have to buy the desk, you have to buy the chair, you have to do the lighting, you have to do all of these things that cost money. And also, you have more flexibility. So with having your business online, you can also have multiple businesses. So it doesn't have to be all one. You wouldn't want to mix and match too much. Like, if you're selling different types of products. So say if you're selling food, you're not going to put it when you sell yoga mats. Like, you'd probably just want to start a new yoga mat store. And also the reach. It's a lot easier to reach 10,000 people by email than it is to call 10,000 people or to have 10,000 people walk through your door. So that was a huge thing. And then obviously the bonus was contributing to the Indigenous economy, because I'm biased and we rock, and therefore it should be growing rapid. This is the why of why I choose IndigiMall. So there's a couple of reasons, but this is more of like just a broadening. It's our platform is very accessible. It's a lot cheaper than other platforms out there, and you have the back end. So with us, you can easily send out emails to your customers. If somebody signs up to your store, you can also track and see who's been in your store. So for me, I find it very helpful to see when people put stuff in their carts, why necessarily didn't finish. So I will contact those people and say, I found out, so you get to see those things, where if you're at an in-person store, you're not seeing those things. Like, if someone is looking at something, you don't know why they put it back. And they're not going to tell you in most cases anyways. But if you email and maybe offer like 10% off, 15% off, chances are now you're going to have that sale. Also, you get to design your own store. It's not, there's a bunch of different themes you can choose. They're all free. And if you have a problem designing your store, it's free. We will have someone design the store for you. So that was a barrier that I really wanted incorporated, just because I missed my free trial by trying to design my store and trying to figure out pixels and all those things. So I wanted to make sure I could at least offer that service to people. And also, you can integrate your store into other malls. So there's a lot of malls that are on the platform, a few Indigenous focused, but there is other malls that are within Canada, Mexico, the States, Australia, and New Zealand. And I believe there's one from Chile. So there's different malls with different focuses. There's, fitness malls, there's parental malls, like just different things. So it's a click of a button and you can have your store then in that mall as well. As long as when you're doing that, just ensure you can sell in those countries. A lot of Indigenous people, we sell products that are not necessarily legal in other countries, especially certain animal furs, oils. You also can't sell anything that's CBD because Stripe is our payment provider. So they have strict CBD rules. So you can't have cannabis or anything like that. So just make sure you read what you can and can't do. And then you get to check all your backends. So you can see how many people came in, how they clicked you. Was it through Facebook, Instagram? Was it through Google? So that helps. And SEO integration, which is great for getting your target audience to find you. And it's, like I said earlier, it is cheaper. And this is some of the ways that we can help your business grow. So a lot of the times when you have your business, it's really hard to keep track of the 1,200 things that you need to do as a small business owner. And let's be honest, in school, we didn't really learn about taxes or how you can claim things or write things off. We all learned how to play a recorder, which is great. Like I can play hot cross buns like no one's business, but no one taught me that, when you need to do HST, when you need to do these things. So it's with our system, it's easy to export that stuff. So you can see the taxes you've claimed, you've received. And then you can also change your currency. So I know it sounds like a strange feature, but it's one feature that angers me with Shopify is that everything is paid in US dollar, which is a disaster on my credit card bill at the end of every month whenever I had stuff coming through. So it's good. And also if you are putting your product into a different mall that's, say a mall in New Zealand, you'd want to receive your funds in Canadian dollars. So it gives that option to be paid in Canadian dollar by Stripe. They'll do that for you. So that helps a lot, especially with it, like the exchange, you do it on your own. So they do that all for you. It's great to integrate your social channels. People always want to see what you're doing and new and, improved. So it's a good way to see who's viewing you, which accounts, see what they're looking for. And we also do have a service where we'll help you create and verify your Google business account. And I know it's a strange one, and I don't recommend it if your home address is the one that's registered to your business. It's if you have a different location. I have corporations, so they are registered to my home address, which is something that I always find a little unsettling. So for that, I don't integrate anything through my Google, but for others that maybe do have a pop-up shop or something, or just a separate address or anything, it is a great feature because getting verified through businesses through Google is fantastic. You get more traffic to you without paying for ads. So you'll show up in searches more. Another great thing is there's only one IndigiMall in the world. So when you type it in, automatically you're stuck and you have to go to my site. So that helps a lot. And these are some of the tools, like I'd mentioned, that will help to grow your business or integrate it more. So we can integrate your stores from Shopify and WooCommerce. So if you do have those stores, it's a click of a button and it gets integrated, and it would be the exact same as your store there. We also have a lot of support 24 hours a day. We also do a lot of tutorials, one-on-one training. So I have a wonderful person who will actually reach out to you if you wanted to figure out more about the back end portion, and she'll show you like how you can really use those things to grow your business, how to understand the information that is in the back end, and how to reach out to your demographic and your clientele. So that's always very helpful. So we keep our cost as low as we can. So right now we charge 7.5%. Everything else is free. Like we don't charge you for the space. We don't charge you for the website location, like none of that stuff. It's just the 7.5% of sales. So we don't make money unless you make money is kind of our little sales pitch. And we also accept all credit card payments through Stripe. And we will be integrating some of the other platforms like Apple and Google in the next couple of months. So that's really good. And the other thing is you have the control over your store. So again, it's easy to just update. So say you want to add a product, it takes maybe 5 minutes to you put the photo in, you set your price, you set your shipping, and it's done. So that's always very helpful. And it's also great for blogs and stuff. I go a lot on the different malls. So Mall Planet has its own site. That's who I bought the platform from. And they have so many blogs and videos on how to grow your audience. Any questions you could think of, they have all the time. And it's also great. It's not just for selling things either. IndigiMall, you can actually do where people can book events. You can do it where people can do job postings. So there's a lot of options there. So if you wanted to host an event, you could do it actually right through the whole platform, which is great. So this is more about our fees, because I know people always want to know. So like I had mentioned, it's 7.5% of your total sales. And then credit card fees, unfortunately, I can't do anything about that. That's what Stripe charges you. And then the payout, I make 3.75% on the sales. So 7.5 is what the mall, like the total amount, and then I get half of that. The other half goes towards all of the support and help. So the videos, the tutorials, and all those things. And then joining is free. The hosting free, like all that stuff. If you wanted to do where it didn't come up www.indigimall.net/your store, and you just wanted it to come up, say www.awesomeproducts.com, it's $12 a month. It's like, because it's the hosting, so it's coming in that way. And then the pro plan, that is more if you are a huge organization and you want to have all the various features of like the bay and stuff like that. So I don't personally have anybody in my mall that I'm not saying I wouldn't. I'm open to that. But at this point, most people just do the free plan and have it at IndigiMall. Because when you send out most things anyways, it's just hyperlinked. Like people are just clicking it on your social channels. They're not actually typing it in. So I find that the most useful. And then a little bit more about other platforms out there. So the ones that I typically compare to are obviously Shopify and Etsy. I would say we're like a hybrid version of them both. They charge monthly fees in US dollars. You have to pay per listing in some cases, not Shopify, but Etsy you do. Some of them are 10%. They charge you on the sales and plus their credit card fees that are usually a bit more than what we charge. It's not Indigenous owned. They definitely don't have a give back to any Indigenous people. And some of them are not user friendly. And a lot of them, you don't have the rights to a lot of stuff I found. Like I know with us, like you can do pretty much anything within legal. Like, you know, I'm not saying go and sell alcohol or drugs on there because it's a terrible idea, but you can do a lot. I found when I was with other platforms, I was on Etsy before, I had a lot of issues with just my digital stuff. Like they had a lot of complaints on, they didn't want it a certain way. They told me I wasn't allowed to do it this way. Like it was a lot of messaging back and forth. And also when you're on Etsy, there's 1,000 of you in most cases, not on everything, but like it's a small, for stick out, it costs a lot to promote yourself. Whereas IndigiMall right now, like we have just over 50 stores and a wide variety of products, very different, you know, and even the ones that are the similar businesses are quite different, which is nice. I do get asked about the turtle. So the turtle was for the 13 moons. My grandmother taught me a lot about that. And also for my cousin, her name was Turtle Spirit. So she was a beautiful human who was like a sister to me. And I wanted to honor her in the best way that I could. So this was one of the ways. And that's why I advocate so much for mental health and that with Indigenous youth. For those who have looked me up, it's a huge thing of mine. And I just think it's so important. So a lot of, anytime I've done any of the donations on behalf of IndigiMall, it has gone to the Kids Help Phone Indigenous component. Because you know we need more help, especially from intergenerational trauma and so many other things that we don't need to discuss right now. But I'm a huge advocate for mental health, and that's something I always like to give back to. And then if you would like to follow us on anything, it's just at IndigiMall. Also, it's info@indigimall.net. If you have any questions, it's easy to get through. And I think I covered everything in regards to IndigiMall. So does anybody have any questions?